Hello viewer, thank you for tuning in to Hope Channel Kenya, and we have a very special segment today where we are going to be talking about our duty as citizens of heaven and citizens here on earth. What we need to do, as the Bible says in Mark 12:17, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. And today we want to understand a little bit more about our duty when it comes to taxes. Yes, many of you probably haven't filed your tax returns just yet, and time is ticking. You need to do that as soon as possible. So we'd like to understand more about this. My name is Caroline Okoth, and thank you for tuning in. With me here to help us understand is Henry Malehe. Mr. Henry Malehe, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Yes, so Mr. Henry Malehe is the Assistant Manager in charge of Corporate Business Compliance in Kisumu. Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you, Caro.
Yes, so we are talking about rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and we'd like to understand more about giving, or rather paying taxes. Why is it important?
Caro, any government that is in existence has got responsibilities and obligations. One, it has to build infrastructure. It has to build schools. It has to provide security. But despite all this, a government is not supposed to compete with its citizens in business. So it has no source of income, but it has obligations to undertake. So the only source of income is the payment of taxes. So any citizen is supposed to pay tax so as to enable the government to meet its own obligations. And through that, the government is able to provide those services. Number two, the government is also has a responsibility of taking care of the vulnerable people in the society. And through taxation, there's that bit of transfer of funds from the rich to the poor, in the sense that when one who is very rich pays a lot of tax, the government will be able to provide services to those ones who would not have access to those services, like health, like education. So that's the reason as to why taxation comes into being. Yes. And
maybe just help us understand then who is viable to be taxed?
Who is liable to tax?
Yes.
Actually, it's all about qualification depending on the type of tax. We have the income tax and we have the VAT. Income tax is a tax on the income, as the name suggests. So one only pays tax when you reach the threshold. Call it an employee. For an employee, you have to get to 24,000 shillings and above to be taxed. If you are doing business as an individual, if you make a profit and the profit is over 24,000 shillings, then it means that whatever profit you have is supposed to be subjected to tax. That's in terms of individual. Now, when it comes to corporates, what would happen is that they don't have a limit. So long as they make a profit, it will be subject to tax. And the tax is as at now is at a flat rate of 30%. When it comes to individual, it's segmented such that at a given time, a point, there's 25%, there's 15%, and there's 10%. So it's all about how much you are earning. Now, when it comes to VAT, it's what we call consumption tax. Consumption tax, so long as you purchase that item or service which is vatable, then you have to pay VAT. So you realize that even the poor may have to pay VAT because it's a consumption tax.
Yes. When you go to a supermarket and buy something,
you have to pay VAT. We have other taxes like or other levies like excise. When you do transaction in the bank, the transfer of money within the bank, there's a charge of excise. So it all depends on what activity you are doing and there's always a tax point at which you are supposed to pay tax.
Many people are complaining. I'm sure you, as a worker for KRA,
Yes.
you experience many people complaining taxes are high. You know, there's taking so much from me. Why do we have such complaints, and what would you have to say about that?
Carol, I want to tell you that since time immemorial, nobody loves paying tax. And even if given opportunity, even we ourselves who are within the collection of tax,
Yes.
we would evade tax. So complaints are bound to be there, but could it be currently attributed to the hard times that we are going through? Otherwise, complaints, we should expect them, and they'll always be there. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Now I'd like to understand a little bit about filing returns.
Okay.
Because we're now in a season, just maybe to explain what exactly is it. Some people, you just hear, have you filed your returns? And
Yes.
you're wondering, what is this and how does it work?
Carol, when it comes to filing of returns, we have what we call due dates, depending on the tax heads. And what we are referring to is the income tax return, specifically for individuals. What I would could be explained here is that for any individual, the accounting date is usually 31st December. Now, once your accounting date is 31st December, the Income Tax Act Cap 470 provides that you have from January up to end of June to file your return. The purpose of filing that return would be you declare how much you have actually earned in that period. It's very interesting that at times when you are filing the return, you would already have paid all your taxes like an employee.
Yes.
We are asking you to file a return for 2021. In 2021, from January to December, you already paid your pay as you earn. So you are filing a return to verify that whatever you are supposed to pay is what you paid. So at times, I'm aware some employees may complain, I've already paid my tax, why file?
Why file?
It's important. Through that filing, we may get several issues. One, if you have been overtaxed, it's only through the filing of the return that we shall know. If you are undertaxed, then we shall also know through the filing. Number two, your employer would have deducted pay as you earn from you and not remitted. It's only through the filing of that tax return that we shall have to be able to know this employee earned this amount was deducted, and the same was not remitted.
All right.
Yes.
All right. And so what are the, now you've talked about employees.
Yes.
Who need to file their returns.
Actually, they are not only the employees. I was giving employers an example. Any individual person who did business in 2021,
Yes.
as an example again, if you did your business in 2021 and it was not your first year of business, in 2021, we expected you to pay what we call installment taxes. The first installment fell on the 20th of April, the second fell on 20th of June, the third fell on 20th of September, and then the last one fell on 20th of December. Those installments are based on estimates. What would happen is that you say in 2020, the amount of tax I paid was 1 million. So what the Act has provided for is that in 2021, as at April, you will have known that your tax for 2020 is 1 million. What do? You top up by 10% and divide by 4. So that would be 1,100,000 divided by 4. Whatever figure you get, in April you pay. If you don't pay, and at the end of the year you would have made that profit, there's a penalty of 5% and interest of 1% per month up to the time when per month up to the time when you will pay it.
Wow.
So as a business person, you pay those installments. Now come the end of the year, now we are in 2022. We expect a business person to bring forth the books to the accountant, prepare them by April. You should have prepared the books and at least known how much profit you made in 2021.
All right.
Now, if you once we establish the profit you would have made in 2021, you now have between that up to end of Nini to brush up your accounts and file. But then on 30th of April, you should have paid the entire amount. If you fail to pay, we shall be charging you interest and penalty up to the time you are going to pay.
Wow.
Just an addition on the same, I've talked about individuals.
Yes.
Companies have got different accounting dates, but those ones whose accounting date is December, they also follow the same suit.
Oh, okay, so it's different depending on your accounting dates.
Yes. So those ones with the different, those whose accounting date is June.
Yes.
They have up to December to file their returns.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Wow, thank you so much for that. And I know many people, okay, thank you for explaining this. It's something personally I've never actually thought of of knowing, and I realized the importance why we need to give this kind of awareness.
Yes.
And I think we want to go for a very short break, but when we come back, we'd now like to understand more about now the steps of how, now it's still on filing returns, how one can go about it, so the viewer who's watching can do it today in case they haven't. And you know, many people have been each time of this year, this same time each year, people keep wondering, how do I do this? How do I do this? And so we'd like to understand more about it when we come back. So do not change that channel. We'll be back after the break.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned to Hope Channel Kenya, where today we are having a special segment where we talk about taxes. Yes, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and that's really what we are here to learn and understand. And with us here is Henry, Mr. Henry Malehe, who has been helping us understand more about why we need to tax and the importance. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Before we went on the break, we got to understand more about filing returns, yeah? And so now we want Mr. Malehe to explain to us now in steps, how then should we file our returns?
Filing of returns.
Yes.
The first step you have to do is to go to KRA website, look for iTax portal. Once you are in the iTax portal, you will find a space for your PIN and then password. Then there's some arithmetic which is down there which you are supposed to do correctly. Then it will take you to the view where you will see, you will pick file return. You have to, you know, there are several returns. You could be amending, you could be, but in this case we are talking about filing of the return. And at that point, you will have to upload the return. You will have to first download the return and input the data that you have, either P9, or if you are doing business, you will be putting in your business accounts, so that by when you are done, you upload the return and then file it. Automatically, we shall receive it at our end.
Oh.
In case you will have gone through the process and by the time you have already submitted the return, you realize that you've made a mistake, KRA gives you one more opportunity to amend that return. So you can go through the same process, but this time round, you talk of amending of the return. Of course, you pick the return period, that return will come up, and then you'll go to that area where you wish to amend where you will have made the mistake. So you amend for it to reflect the correct position of your financial position. Yes.
All right. So it's different for businesses and employees. No, employers.
Employees.
The two confuse me.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So P9, you mentioned P9. What is P9?
P9 is details of earnings by an employee that are given to the employee at the end of the year, showing how much salary he earned, and if there were any benefits that are subject to tax, also they are included. So that wherever you earn your salary in a given month, it's recorded on the P9 on a monthly basis. At the end of the year, once the employer closes the business, you will have the P9 for each employee. So this is the form that the employer gives to the employee to use to file for the employee to use to file the return. Yes. I still
want you just to emphasize, someone who's still asking the question.
Yes.
Okay, if the employer is filing their business returns, why should the employee then file the returns? Like, what is the importance?
You know what happens here? The employer files monthly returns. They are called payee returns. What do? They list all their employees.
Yes.
And of course, they indicate the amount of salaries and benefits that those employees would have earned, and then work out the tax. Actually, the return it works out on its own. It will give you the amount of pay that you would have deducted from your employees. That's the first step. Then you file. The second step, you generate a PRN. It's a payment slip. Once an employer generates a payment slip, it takes whatever amount you would have deducted from each of these employees to the bank. Now what happens, when the employer pays, those amounts that have been deducted from each employee are credited on the ledger of an employee. They are credited on the ledger of the employee. So at the end of the year, you'll be having your credits. So when you file a return, it will form now the debit. It has to balance. When it's not balancing, then there's a question. That's where I was telling you, either the employer did not pay, or he would have deducted from you, or if we would have deducted, then it's from there that we are able to know.
To access.
Yes.
Okay.
So as an employee, you have an advantage because at the end of the year, from your ledger, if we notice that the employer did not remit all the money, we first come to you. But with the P9, then we go back to the employer. Because we are saying here, as by this P9, you said you deducted 200,000 shillings from employee X. But from our ledger, we're only seeing 80,000. Where's 120? It would be a reconciliation issue if the employer, when he was uploading the return, there was a problem with the PIN of the employees. That the posting on the credit posts on the ledger may not happen. So that's why we talk of reconciliation.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm learning as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for emphasizing that. I feel like you've not really given a step-by-step process of how to file the returns. For someone who, let's talk about someone with the P9 form.
Yes.
You said the first step is to go to the KRA website and write down your PIN and password.
Go to the website, go to iTax portal.
Yes.
Then Once you are on iTax, you go to filing, file return. So where you are filing return, you go and download the return. Now, when you are an employee, that return will we have it's segmented. The first one is giving the details of an employee, and then there are questions there. You know, there are some employees who, by nature of being disabled, they are exempted. Exemption, you must have an exemption certificate from KRA. So that in that first part, that question is asked: are you exempted?
Okay.
So you have to, of course, you can click on the same and pick it. Now, you'll be at the same time asked, do you have any other business other than employment? If you don't have another business other than employment, you don't tick it. Now, that will be the first part. Now, if you are just an employee, you'll get somewhere down in the return where they will ask for the employer's detail. You will have the PIN, PIN number for the employee, the name of for the employer, the name of the employer. Of course, after putting that, then there will be details of the salary, how much you earned, and how much pay as you earn was deducted. So you'll be using the P9 to fill the form. Now, once you have done that, of course, there are other small questions like we have, you know, if you are a member of a pension scheme which is registered by KRA, there's that part, your contribution to such a scheme is exempt. So somewhere above there, you will be asked if you contributed and you indicate the amount you contributed, because it's important it has to be deducted from the same. Now, down there you will go to reliefs. We have the normal relief where you have to indicate the 2,400 per month, which is 28,800 per year. Other than that, we also have another relief we call insurance relief. So once you have a policy on life or education of yourself or your kids or your spouse, it qualifies for relief. It's 15% of the premiums you pay, subject to a limit of 15,000 per year. So once you have to fill the details of the insurance you have, and then initial has to
which are in the P9 form. Some of those details.
Of course, we expect the employer to have already given you that relief. In case the employer did not give you the relief, now this is the opportunity for you to claim for insurance relief. Equally, as a government incentive to encourage people to build their own houses, we have another relief which we call owner-occupier interest.
Oh.
Yes. What happens in this situation is that if you build or buy a house,
yes.
If you build or buy a house using a loan from the first four financial institutions in the fourth schedule, then interest that you pay is exempt.
Oh.
Like now you get a loan from bank or an insurance company or a housing corporation. What would happen is that every month they will be charging you interest.
Yes.
That interest that you pay, that house you must be staying in, of course.
Yes.
That interest that you pay, we get it, subtract from your salary before taxing that salary. So it's exempt. So the same is provided within the return.
Within the return.
So once you work out, if the employer had not given you the same, then this is the opportunity when you are filing the return to claim for the same.
Wow.
Yes.
Is this information that people usually know in the country?
we have a very robust education sector in our department, in our offices. We educate people on daily basis. Per week we have 2 days where we dedicate education on newly recruited employers, employees, VAT, pay as you earn, So we educate people, but also if you have anything, you come over.
All right, thank you. Maybe just give a brief parting shot to the viewer watching, just about, KRA and taxes.
Yes, viewers, please avoid paying unnecessary penalties. This is the time for you to file the returns. Remember, if you file your return on Friday next week, you will pay an additional penalty of 2,000 or 5% of whatever tax is due. This is an unnecessary burden, unnecessary expense. Why pay more when you can just file in a second?
Amen.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. We are so happy that you had spared your time to be here with us. And now we get to understand, as citizens of God and citizens of Kenya, the importance of rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar's. So thank you so much, dear viewer, for tuning in to this special segment. I do hope that you have been enlightened and that you have learned a lot from this session. And yes, this is information that we need to know as citizens of this country, so that we know and understand why we do the things that we do. Thank you so much. We will see you another time, another special segment as this another time. Thank you so much. I'm Caroline Okoth. God bless you.